9 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's autumn, but here in Florida, it feels like summer. Maybe you're going to go swimming this weekend, right?
Yeah.
You can go swimming anytime, right? I think there's 2 days in January, and other than that, you can swim any day, right? Mm-hmm. So next time you're out swimming with the kids, right? And they've got their little...
And the women.
And the women. Well, I don't know if you want to do this with the women, but with the kids, you see their bellies, right?
Yes.
I want you to point to that belly and say, you've got a clever gut right there. You have a clever gut.
Yeah.
The book we're about to talk about is called The Clever Gut Diet, How to Revolutionize Your Body from the Inside Out. And I was reading it with some interest because recently I had a what do you call the thing on my tooth I had? Abscess tooth. And I tried everything to avoid antibiotics because I heard, bad things about antibiotics. But I had to cave. Eventually, I had to cave. I went to the dentist, and I thank God there was antibiotics. So I've got mixed feelings about antibiotics. Dr. Michael Mosley is going to help me with this. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and his book is called The Clever Gut Diet. Good morning. It's an honor, Dr. Mosley. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Good morning to you.
Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from London, so the sun is shining, but probably not as warm and as lovely as in Florida at the moment.
Yeah. So next time, I've never heard the gut called clever, so I'm gonna use that line when I go swimming with the kids.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to tell a woman
Absolutely.
that though. Robin thinks I should tell that to the women, but I don't think I'm going
Absolutely.
to. So tell me about this. Did you hear what I said about me taking antibiotics for my abscess tooth?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to say the reason I called it the Clever Gut Diet is because you have your guts are about 20 feet long, and they are lined with brain cells. There are as many brain cells down in your gut as there are in the head of a cat. The cat is pretty clever, so your tummy is about as clever as a cat.
I love that.
It's your main brain. So that's kind of when we talk about having gut feelings or, going with your gut. It turns out there is a second brain down there which does indeed come up with some pretty clever choices sometimes. But you were asking about antibiotics. So down in your gut, there is also about 2 to 3 pounds of bacteria. And amongst them are what are known as the old friends. And these are bacteria we evolved with that are absolutely essential to our health. So we tend to think of bacteria as kind of the enemy, but actually there are a lot of them we cannot live without. And so down in your gut there are a lot of good bacteria, but also kind of a mixture of bad bacteria as well, pathogens. And the problem with antibiotics, if you take lots of them, is that, and particularly in childhood, but is they tend to wipe out the good ones. Mm-hmm. And the good ones, at least part of their function, is to protect your gut from attack by the bad ones. And so if you wipe out everything, there is a danger that your gut will then become recolonized, but with unhealthy microbes. And so that's why it's kind of generally, if you can avoid antibiotics, do. Though obviously there are occasions like with your abscess where you have to take them.
But when you compare it to the cat, I like that because in order to have a healthy cat, you got to feed your cat the healthy food. And it sounds like that's what you're saying. It sounds like what we put into the gut is going to make all the difference, not just in like our weight, but also in our demeanor. The psychological part of being healthy is part of what you talk about. Absolutely. We know that what you eat, and this book is full of kind of recipes which are aimed at trying to maximize the sort of benefit for the gut, but particularly for the microbiome. We know those bacteria, they influence our health in lots of profound ways. One is they talk to your brain. They do so via a super fast broadband highway called the vagus nerve, which connects the brain in your gut with the brain. And they're a bit like Russians. They hack into the system. They can affect your brain, your mood. They can influence what you eat. That's good.
They are very, very subtle and very, very clever, and you hardly know they're doing it. But we now know very well. In fact, there's a whole new branch of medicine called psychobiotics, which is about the influence that the gut bacteria have on your brain. And lots of really interesting research now into prebiotics, probiotics, and things like that as an alternative to antidepressants. So they do that. They influence your food choices.
That's interesting.
But they also influence your immune system. So they are really profound in their impact. And as I said, one of the problems is that a lot of the good guys we've been knocking off with a combination of antibiotics and fast food.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like we've gone around the planet wiping out lots of species of animals. We've been wiping out many of our own internal species.
Right.
And we're willing to pay the price for that.
And not every body is the same. I mean, some people have diabetes, some people have thyroid problems. They all have to be treated differently.
Sure, but the foods are broadly the same. The foods which we know are good for your gut bacteria are the sort of what I'd describe as Mediterranean diet. So there's a bit of dark chocolate in there, a bit of red wine, lots of fruit and vegetables, oily fish, olive oil, and things like that. Yeah. But the other thing which is becoming much clearer is fermented foods. And that would be smelly cheeses, yogurt, but also things like kefir, kombucha, kimchi, things which the Japanese and the Chinese and the East Europeans have been eating for a long time now, but which are now being introduced into, if you like, the cuisine here in the UK and also, I think, in the States. So if I was taking antibiotics, I would also be eating fermented foods to kind of try and repopulate my gut with some of the good bacteria at about the same rate I was depleting them with the antibiotics.
That's right. I mean, some of the foods you named just sound naturally delicious. So,
yes, they do.
The book is called The Clever Gut Diet. I want to let the listeners know that it's number one in its category, which is physiology. And you've actually also have the number 2 and the number 3 slot. I don't know if you know that, but you've got 1, 2, and 3. And
I didn't know.
Oh, you did not? Let me tell you. Let's see. Okay, if I click on this thing again, number 1 is the hardcover, number 2 is the Kindle, and number 3 is the Audible. So you've got the top 3 slots in physiology. This will help us boost our immune system. I wanted to mention that real quickly because losing weight is something we all have our ideas on what to do, but this will do that, but also increase your immune system, which is a big deal, especially right now. After the hurricane we had here, we got a lot of people complaining about getting bacteria. Right.
Actually, what it really does is it shapes the immune system. Because if you think of the immune system as a bit like an irritating teenager, it has a tendency to kind of smash lots of things up if it gets out of control. So what it needs is kind of, grandmother coming in and sorting them out and telling them how to behave. And in a way, that's what the good bacteria in your gut do. They kind of tell the immune system how to behave. And a lot of the things which have been on the rise are asthma, eczema, hay fever, and things like that, and gluten intolerance, celiac. These are all the product of an overactive immune system, if you like. And so we know that if you can boost and improve the quality of the good bacteria, they will rein in the immune system and will reshape it. So I used to have pretty terrible hay fever, but since I've taken to eating the foods in this book, and particularly fermented foods, my hay fever is absolutely fine.
Nice.
And ditto, I've had friends with eczema that's improved remarkably. So that is one of the really big revolutions, the realization that the immune system can be reshaped, if you like, through diet.
Dr. Mosley, thank you so much. We're out of time. The book is called The Clever Gut Diet. The book is here. I have a copy of it, so call me if you want the one that was sent to us, and you can have it for free. The rest of us have to buy it. I found it on Amazon, easy to find, and you have a website, cleverguts.com, correct?
That's right, absolutely.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Michael Mosley. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
This is WOCA Ocala.
Between U.S. ports. Fox's Geraldo Rivera in San Juan says
that can help get bulk relief in here, which is critically necessary. I'm standing in front of one of the zombie condos here that line the strip in San Juan. High-rise buildings without electrical power, without water, 12 stories, 15 stories high, no elevators. To flush the toilet, you need a gallon of water. You have to schlep it up there. So that gives you an idea of the crisis that rich and poor alike are suffering here in Puerto Rico.
President Trump had said a lot of people in the shipping industry did not want the Jones Act lifted. And the president tells Fox about NFL owners not cracking down on protests during the national anthem.
I think they're afraid of their players, you want to know the truth. And I think it's disgraceful.
Fox News. We report. You decide.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-467-1443. That's 800-467-1443. 800-467-1443. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since